Howdy neighbors, welcome to the lesson for Jerusalem Ridge. This particular version is from Kenny Baker Plays Bill Monroe, and the thing is about Bill's arrangement on this one is that he never played the third part, and so what would he have played on that? And so I was able to find a rare recording of Bill playing the third part in a workshop and added a little bit of bass and banjo and rhythm guitar, so it will try to cohesively, seamlessly stitch on to the Kenny Baker version. And what we're going to hear now is that version plus the C part version, or the last part, however you call that. It's going to go 3 times in a row, and so you can see what's going on the fingerboard and start to get those original notes in your ears and in your mind. So here we go, 3 times through Jerusalem Ridge. Alright, so that's a lot, hey? And let's go ahead and listen to it a little bit slower. Here we go. Alright, so we've really got our work cut out for us here. This is almost impossible to decipher and remember everything that Bill's doing, especially in this first part. And most of us are used to kind of hearing this tune like this, something like that, okay? And so the way that it starts off is not like that. And so we need to make some space for a new beginning to how this tune goes, according to Bill Monroe on this recording. So let's listen to this first line. Here we go. Okay, so it's got two 16th notes, pick up to the downbeat. And almost all of this is going to be down and up, just running and gunning the whole way. The pickup notes are the open G, downstroke, and then an upstroke on the 2nd fret of the G, and then the downbeat is the 2nd fret of the G. There's the downbeat right there. Okay, and from the downbeat it sounds like this. Alright, so it's not the boo-doo-doo-doo-doo, it's 2, 5, open D, and then down, up, down, up, down. Alright? Do, 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 dee, 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 dee. Let's do that one more time. Ready and go. Do, 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 do. 5 notes there on the 2nd fret of the D. La dee 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 da da dee 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 dee. And on the last one of those 2nd fret of the D notes, it goes like this. Da 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 da. All right. Most of this is going to be happening with your first finger and your ring finger. So this little section here, la da 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 da, is one of the easier sections to remember. So it's 2nd, open, 5th fret of the G, open D, 2nd, open, 5th fret of the G, open G, la da 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 da. All right. So let's run that back to the beginning and check it out in context. Here we go. Ready and go. All right, one more time. Ready and go. Okay. Make sure you got that good before you go on. Stop the video, run it back until you got that. Alright, so now I'm going to play the first 2 lines together. Okay, so we got past this part. And here's the next line. Alright, that's a lot. One more time. And so you can tell that a lot of these lines are ending on the open G, and he just kind of hits that every time before he goes back to that anchor note of the 2nd fret of the G. Okay, so what is he doing? Starts on the 2nd fret of the G, upstroke, then a downstroke on the 5th fret of the G, upstroke on the open D, 2nd fret downstroke, then an upstroke on the open A, followed by a downstroke. Let's just do that much. Okay, do, 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 do. And then you're going to come back down or up, depending on how you're looking at it, with an upstroke on the 5th fret of the D, and 2nd fret, open D, 2nd fret again, 5th fret upstroke, 2nd fret, open D, 5th fret of the G, then open G. Okay, so let's try to learn that by our ear. Da 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 bum 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 bum. So that's a big long phrase. So just take it a little bit at a time. Do 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 do. Just get that much. Do 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 do. And then once you get to there, do 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 do. Get that little part. La da 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 da. And put those together. Do 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 do. And then get this part. Da ba 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 ba. 2-0-2-5-2-0. Fifth fret of the G open. And all together. Do 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 da da ba 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 ba. And so let's go back to the beginning now that we know these two lines. All right, here we go. 3 and 4. Okay, so the first time he's really gunning the second fret of the D note. And then the second time he puts the more classic quintessential phrasing in there. Okay, do 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 do, and that little eighth note pause there. And then after that, it gets a little tricky. Let's listen to this little tricky thing he does here. Okay, this is one of the blurry, kind of broad brush impressionistic sounds that is very confusing, especially when you slow it down. But it sounds so beautiful and fluid, just a little bit of kind of, cosmic, harmonic, earthy dirt in there to give it a really cool texture. Let's look at it one more time. Isn't that weird? Just beautiful. Da, do, da, do, do, da, do, 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 blah, do, 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 do. Okay, so let's break that down a little bit. So we got the same ramp up, 2, 5, open, open, 2, and that's where the eighth note is. Down, up, down, then you're going to hit a fifth fret of the G note on an upstroke. Then you're going to kind of take your first finger up just for a second, and you're going to brush the fifth fret of the G and the open D up to the upstroke on the second fret of the D. Okay? And you remember, when you're getting up to speed, it's really cruising, so it's more like. And so it goes by really fast, but just kind of breaking it down so you can see what's going on there. And now we're to the last line of the A part the first time, which sounds like this. Okay, so this isn't too hard to follow. Do, 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 la, da, 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 da. Alright, starts on the second fret of the G, upstroke, fifth fret of the G, downstroke, same note, open D, second fret, upstroke on the open A, downstroke, another A, upstroke on the fifth fret of the D, second fret, downstroke, upstroke, same note, open D, upstroke on the fifth fret of the G, and then down to the second fret of the G. Okay, so let's go back to the first part of the A, which is, we've gotten halfway through the A part, goes AA. And so let's go back to the beginning. Here we go. 3 and 4. Okay, that's the A part the first time. It's very similar in the second half, but let's look at some of the differences. Instead of doing the pickup notes, he's just dead on it this time. And he does a really cool blurry impressionistic move, slurry blur, up through the 4th fret and the 5th fret on the G string. So it's not exactly like, but it's something like, it's a little cosmic blur there, and he might be doing it with a slide with his ring finger. I'm not exactly sure on the fingering. But if you want to just note it out completely, and then on the second A part, he does put the pause in there with the 8th note. And it goes back to the same. But there's one little note that is different on the second A, and it's this one. Okay, so the first time he goes, the second time he puts the beautiful F sharp in there. 4th fret of the D. So starting the second A part, okay, so that goes by pretty quick too, but when you get it in the flow, it's a nice color to put in there. Okay, so now we're to the end, the couple end tricks. So instead of going down to the 5th fret of the G, he does this little cool move with the open D string. Sounds like that. One more time. Da, 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 da. That's an 8th note there. Da, da, da. Down, up, down. Up, down, up, down, up, down on the 5th fret of the G. Do, 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 do. So he doesn't go down to do, 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 do. He goes do, 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 do. So try to get that in your head. It's a really cool distinguishing difference from the first A. Do, 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 do. It's hard to remember. This is the stuff that you struggle with, but you just got to keep going until you get it. Do, 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 do. That's the sound of it. And it's just a cool variation to put on there. And then the very last lick of the whole thing, do, 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 do. Really cool. Do, 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 do. He's putting a little hammer-on lick in there. Do, 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 light up, do, 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 do. So instead of going do, 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 he's going do, do, do. Sorry, do, 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 do. second fret of the D notes, da, da, then a hammer on, then an upstroke, hammer onto the second fret of the D, then an upstroke on the D, and then it sounds like he's getting both pairs of strings, the G and the D, at the end there. Do, 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 do. Okay, so that's the whole A part, and it's really confusing and complex. So let's go back to the beginning and try it really slowly. 1, 2, ready, and go. Okay, let's go through it one more time. Are you ready? And go. Okay, so now let's have a listen to the B part. 1, 2, ready, go. Alright, so the B part is very tricky also. It's got some unusual techniques. The main one is this droning thing that he gets into. Okay, so it's kind of got these pickup notes down, up on the open A string, and then you're going to be really planting your ring finger on the 7th fret of the D, and it's going to be staying there a lot for this whole part. So you got your down, up, and then he's playing the 7th fret of the D, and he's getting the open A to ring with it. And so you got your down, up, which is open A, and then these are all downstrokes, except for that part with the 2nd and 3rd fret of the A, which we haven't gotten to yet. And so he's alternating from the 7th fret of the D with the ringing open A and the open A itself. Okay, so and a 1 and 2 and 3 E and a 4 E and so that's just climbing up to the 3rd fret through the 2nd fret. Da dee 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 day. Okay, O 2 3 2 open. Alright, so we got our open A, kind of pickup notes leading into the B part. Da da drone A, drone A, drone A, 2 3 2 A. So that's the first line. Da da doom da doom da dee da da dee da doo. Okay, and the second line sounds like this. Da da doom da doom da 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 da. So you're kind of just basically doing the first part of the first line of the B part. Da da doom da doom da. And slide from 5 to 7. Down up down up down. And the upstroke's going to be on the 3rd fret of the E. Da 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 down down up down up down. So you're starting on the 5th fret of the A, kind of sliding into the open E, but you're sliding on to the 7th fret on the A, but you're going to get the open E string to ring with it. So let's do those first two lines. And then he kind of charges into the next one. And then he goes back to the da da doom da doom da 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 da. So the third line, let's just get it in the whole context. Da da doom da doom da 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 doom da doom da 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 jigga 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 da 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 da. So he's just down and up the whole way on that same 7th fret of the D, ringing with the open A. And then he catches an upstroke before he goes back to it. And then he goes boom ba boom da doo doo da doo doo. So this is the last line of the first half of the B part. Boom da 5-2 open 5-2. Da da 7th fret of the D drone 5-2 open upstroke on the 5th fret of the G, then down to the 2nd fret of the G. Okay, so let's check out the whole first B part again. 1, 2, 3, and go. And he gets another open ringing E string in there. I don't think I mentioned that. Then he chugs it. Okay, so you got the drone thing for 2 lines. And then chugging it. The drone at. Okay, so let's play the whole thing. 1, 2, ready, and go. Okay, now let's listen to the second B part. Alright, now in the second part of the B, he's really continuing to do this chugging thing, so he's not doing the... He's just running right with it. He does do that same little... So the melodic motifs are the same. But the rhythm is different, so he's just gunning it through the second half of the beat. Okay, and so you're still up there on the 7th fret of the D, and you can get that drone going, but it's a different rhythm. It's not the da-da-dum-da-da, it's not the alternating. Da-da-dum-da-da, you just gun it. Okay? Alright. So now let's go on to the next part, which is like the tail of the B, or you could call it a C part. And it sounds like this in context. Okay, and this is usually where Bill stops playing and the fiddle takes the rest of the form. Okay, but let's listen to this one more time. Alright, so it kind of has the pickup notes. Start on the open A, upstroke on the 5th fret of the D, down to the 2nd fret of the D. So it's got that little shuffle rhythm. Down, down, up, and then you're going to come up with your first finger to the 4th fret of the D. Then you're going to put the bottom 2 or the top 2, depending on how you're looking at it, fingers of your D chord and it's going to gun a little bit there. Just playing down and up. So you're going to have that one long eighth note. You can hear that. Da, da, dum, ba, da, da, da. Down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, up. Then he kind of guns right here on the bottom of the D chord. Down, up, down, up, down, up. La da dum, ba da 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 dum, bum dum da 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 dum. Then da 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 da. That second fret of the D, open D, and then he gets a little bit of this double stop. Da, 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 and he kind of backs off of it for the rest of it. And you're just getting the fourth fret, da, 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 and then down to the second fret. Da, 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 da. So that whole phrase one more time. Da, da, dum, da, 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 dum, 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 da, da, jigga, jigga, dugga, 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 dum. All right, one more time. Da, da, dum, da, 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 the second time he goes to this position, he's not gunning it, or just strumming it down and up. He does the little shuffle. Down, 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 up, down, up, down, 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 down. Okay. Alright, so that whole thing sounds like this. Okay, so one little detail that you can add onto that, if you want to grab a little upstroke before the final second fret of the G note, that might be a sound that he's doing in there. That's what we've described. But you can kind of get... That's probably more of the sound. Okay, so now let's try to tackle the last part. Okay, so it sounds like this. 2, 3, 4. Alright, so let's try to break this last part down. So the first phrase sounds like this. Alright, so he's sliding from 5 to 7 on the A string into the E string. And then he's going from 3 to 5 on the E string. Alright, so and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and so he's reaching up there and he's getting the 7th fret of the E and the 8th fret of the E. Alright, so let's play that together. Ready and go. Alright, and the next part sounds like this. Alright, pretty easy here. Start on the open E up to the 3rd fret of the E. And it's all running. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... So let's put those two phrases together. Here we go. Ready and go. next line sounds like this. Alright, so the downbeat of that phrase is the open E, and then he jumps up to the 5th fret of the E. And he's getting the 7th fret of the E with his ring finger. Just like that. 1 E and a 2 E and a. The of 2 is that 7th fret note. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 and down to the open E. And then here's the last line. Alright, so sliding from 5 to 7 into the E string, catching the 3rd fret on an upstroke, then open 5th fret of the A string on an upstroke, then 3, 5, open. So those last 2 lines and then there's this tag part that happens, and it sounds like this right after that. Alright, so one more time. It's a little bit hard to hear exactly what he's doing on that workshop recording, but it's about the lines of this. So starting with your ring finger sliding up from 5 to 7 on the D string into the A string, upstroke on the 3rd fret of the E, open, 5, 2 on the D string, starting with an upstroke, then down on an upstroke to the open D. So, alright, and he keeps it going. So you're going to stay on that 2nd fret of the D note for a little bit there. 3 strokes, 1, 2, 3, open D with an upstroke, down to the 5th fret of the G, down, up, down, then an upstroke on the open D, up to the 2nd fret of the D, 2 notes on that 2nd fret of the D note, 2, 2, open, 5th fret of the G, and then down to the bottom note. It just kind of hangs there. So get that in your mind. If you want to add a little, you hear the fiddlers going, but I don't hear Monroe doing that, at least on this workshop recording. You could do something like that, but it's real low and soft. You might just be hanging on that 2nd fret of the G note. And then he jumps back into the last part again. The phrasing is just a little bit different this time. Instead of going, it's a little bit simpler. And then the 2nd line. Alright, so that's different. 5, 3, upstroke on the 7th fret, 5th fret, then down to the 3rd fret, da da dee 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 boo dee boom boom. Okay, one more time. La dee 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 dee. And then the very last line sounds like this. Okay, so that's the classic melodic shape of that last line that we hear the fiddles do a lot. So it's probably the little finger on the 8th fret, back to the 5th fret, 7th fret, then an upstroke on the 5th fret, and then a downstroke on the 5th fret. La doo 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 beep boop beep boo boo. Then open E, and then the same ending lick. Ba da 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 ba da da da. Then the tag. Blah da 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 da. Alright, so now let's play one more time this very last whole part. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so there you have it. It's a lot, huge amount of information to be undertaking, but to just kind of study it really carefully, meticulously, slowly, will give you more of an understanding about what the tune is really about, the subtle nuances and the energy that will allow you to take what you've learned from this and maybe play it as close as you can, but just to get to the heart of the tune and then to be able to do it your way. So enjoy Jerusalem Ridge.